Oh, hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Well, Mr. Rayo is not quite with us yet, so I'll just wait for him to ring in. And in the meantime, we'll just get things going here with regards to what's going to be happening for tomorrow night and into Saturday and into the weekend. I actually had to draw a snow forecast map, which I just find appalling. I guess I don't know. I didn't ever think that I'd have to do something like that on a day in May, but it's 2020. It is a strange time all the way around. We have so many weird things happening, and we've all been in virtual lockdown here for well over a month and a half now. Uh, I don't know about you. It just does seem like the time is going. In some ways, the time seems to be going very slowly, and yet in other ways, it seems to be going rather quickly. I want to just give a quick hello to those of you who are watching from Facebook, or you link to our live stream from Twitter, or you are joining us from the free meteorologist Joe Chaffee weather app, which of course you can download on Google Play or on the App Store. So I guess I'll just get going. Joe came out with a snow forecast. I don't know if he's having some kind of technical issues tonight. We'll find out soon enough. If he doesn't show, then we know that that was indeed the case. So let's start off. I want to just I want to start off with the watches and warnings map across the country. Ah, here he is. Hang on. Yes, you missed your cue. We're on the air.
Well, hi everybody.
It must have been some dinner.
Pork chops.
Pork chops and applesauce?
No pork chop. Last night we had interesting. We had couscous last night. Tonight it was pork chops and like these little French fried potato cubes and oh it was great. And the sauce was on top of the pork
Oh,
chops.
well,
Was
very
great.
good.
I actually paused and said, "Do we have any bread?" Then I wanted to dunk the bread in the sauce or
Did she?
whatever. But here
Oh,
we are
very good. All right, so I was just about to bring the
on the
national.
eve of the possibly final winter storm of the season.
Now, I don't know about you, but I mean, I know you drew your snow forecast map, which I didn't look at until after I drew my snow forecast map. And of course, when we look at both of them, you're going to see that they pretty much the same. But I had a really tough time just even motivating myself to draw a forecast. This, I think, is the latest. This is the latest I think that I've ever drawn a snow forecast
Right.
map for. May 7th, 2020. So we'll mark that down in the history books as the latest that I have ever had to make a snowfall forecast. But we'll get to those in a second. One of the things, John, I noticed on the watches and warnings map tonight is a large area across Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, up into Michigan, and up further north into parts of Wisconsin, Minnesota. Huge area, and then that area right that's under freeze warnings,
Right.
and you have an even bigger area that's under frost advisories or freeze watches. This is a sign, a signature of the colder air that's coming down, that's setting up this
Right.
storm system that's moving eastward. This is pretty impressive for the 7th of May, particularly when you've got freezes forecast all the way down into Kentucky and southern West Virginia.
It is, and they even have a freeze watch posted. I believe it's still in effect for Orange County.
For
Now
tonight,
that's
yes.
that's for tomorrow night.
They have it up for tomorrow night. Well, look, that low goes by. As that low goes by, where the cold air comes in areas inland and elevation, that wouldn't be a huge shock to see temperatures get down close to 32.
Even with the fact that we're looking at clouds and precipitation tomorrow
Right, but
night.
if it's wet snow up there, it's been
Right.
elevated areas after
Right.
around midnight or so. Probably will see temperatures. I would think even down at the coast, we might see temperatures get down. Even if we don't see any snowflakes down at the coast, I would think we're going to see temperatures get down into the upper 30s.
I wouldn't doubt it either. And this storm, which will start out the day tomorrow in southern Illinois, is going to race to about the Washington D.C. area by sundown tomorrow evening, and then literally move right across the tri-state area during the night tomorrow night. And I would not be surprised if we had some rumbles of thunder, because it looks like this system is going to be intensifying by the hour as it moves on in and through our area. And it's as soon as it moves on past, that cold air is just going to spill into our region after midnight tomorrow night, and probably produce a changeover from rain over to snow most everywhere, even perhaps in New York City and parts of Long Island. Now, in terms of accumulation, I
Hold
think we
on,
got.
hold on. I'm going to put your snow forecast map up now so you can talk about your snow accumulations. Go ahead.
I didn't even send it to you. In fact, I
I
said
stole it from
you
Facebook.
stole it.
Yes. Go on. So
well,
you
uh,
see what you have. Go ahead.
well, I said for our area, for the immediate tri-state area, all the way on up into much of northern New Jersey, lower Westchester, it's probably going to be in the form of rain changing to wet snow. No accumulations. However, as you go north of the 84 corridor, and especially in places above, let's say, 500 feet, we're going to start seeing perhaps the cardinal
So
cardinal.
I'm just going to draw in the I-84 corridor. So basically, it is. I'm going to draw it on your map, but I'm not going to save it, so I won't ruin it.
Okay,
It's just it'll be a temporary thing. So this, folks, this is basically the I-84 corridor, that red line that I've just drawn, roughly.
and Brian Fitzgerald, who lives, I think, above 1,000 feet.
Right where they yodel up where he is.
So he may very well be in that zone of 1 or even 2 slushy inches, because it's going to come down, Joe, with such intensity that even though it's not going to be here for a very long time, in the time that it's here and in the time that the cold air is pouring in later tomorrow night, we could very well see some spots getting even moderate snow, dare I say? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
up.
look, I'm not going to be shocked by anything I see tomorrow. Nothing's going to surprise me. Uh, these are the kinds of systems sometimes where you do wind up with upside surprises because the variabilities this time of year are so difficult to account for. The elevation, who knows, 1,000 feet up versus say 500 or 1,500 feet up. The differences could be from nothing to 4 inches. Who knows? If you get the intensity in there, some places might wake up to a surprise. Although if you wait till Saturday morning, you better try and get up before sunrise because the May sun angle is so ridiculous at this time of year. That snow is going to get destroyed probably by 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, even if I lived in a place that's getting the 4 inches, I wouldn't be too concerned, because that's going to be very quickly gone by mid or late afternoon on Saturday. Even though we're going to be seeing temperatures well below normal. Interestingly, Joe, the max the lowest maximum temperature at Central Park on Saturday is 44 degrees. I believe the lowest max temperature for Sunday is 50, and the lowest max temperature for tomorrow is a 49. It's just that on Saturday it may be just a little bit out of reach to tie or break. Had
Right.
it been, let's say, had Saturday had the same kind of ranges or the same kind of situation record-wise on for Friday or for Sunday with temperatures that are 49 or 50, we might actually see the record for a low max temperature go. But 44 might be just a little bit too much to ask for.
The only way I think that would happen, it would have to be overcast from start to finish.
Hmm.
That's not the only way. I've got my snow forecast map up, and I kind of focused on the idea mainly above 1,000 feet as far as snow accumulations are concerned. Look, it could wind up being 750, 500, maybe it'll be 1,250 or 1,500. So I averaged it out to 1,000. My numbers are not that different from yours, and also in terms of the positioning. The I-84 corridor, yeah, exactly that. I think, from there north and west of the I-84 corridor, there could be a slushy couple of inches. And then you start to go up into the Catskills, the northern Poconos, the Catskills, and then on up into the Berkshires. You're looking at 2 to 4. Maybe when you get up into the Adirondacks, you might wind up in some of the higher elevations with 4, 5, or 6. And the same will hold true probably for up in Maine, where away from the coast, you'll probably see a solid 3 to 6 inch snowfall just inland. Maybe even on the coast, maybe wind up with a slushy coating to a couple of inches. It's a very fascinating setup. It's I would probably best describe it, I think, as a um, face slapping type of setup with regards to what's going to happen, because it's just ridiculous. I'm going to bring up the Weather Service's digital forecast for the snowfall, and let me get that up there now, and there you go. So uh, these are the compilation of all the National Weather Service offices. You can see the max amounts up in Maine and northern New Hampshire, 3 to 6, and then it starts to tail off as you get down closer to the coast. Upstate New York amounts. So when you look at the plots here, usually if you get these maps, try and go close up, because they sometimes what you can see on the wide shot, what you can't see on the wide shot, you can see on the close up. So they got a foreprint up there in a spot up in the Adirondacks. I'm not exactly sure, what that point is. Maybe it's Old Forge or uh, oh, good God, what's oh brain fog. Not Saranac Lake, Lake Placid, Lake Placid.
Right.
They had 4 and 5 prints for the Catskills. Now they got 2 or 3. I mean, who knows where the upside is? I think it's fair to say 1 to 3. A couple of inches certainly should do it. Our buddy Chuck Cardillo, who's usually on the chat board, he's up in the Catskills at 3,000 feet. He'll have his shovel out and having a party. Western half of PA, a coating to an inch or so will accumulate, and we'll probably see a coating to an inch or two down through West Virginia, and even down into some of the higher elevations in Western Virginia, well west of I-81 and west of Blacksburg and Roanoke. Odd, again, to see snow that far south in the month of May. Also, we don't want to leave our friends in Northeast Ohio out of it, because there could be maybe a few flakes with some wet snow there, a coating to maybe at most an inch. And of course, again, after sunrise tomorrow, this stuff disappears in a big hurry.
Tim Beltman says that one spot that you called Lake Placid, he says it's Whiteface Mountain.
Okay, I'll accept that. Thank you, Tim. No, no, it's not. I don't always, you and I don't always know exactly where everything is, with these spots that they pick out. I will say though, Joe, the WPC boys, I've got their map up here, so I'm going to take a look at this. So we got the probability of 2 inches. Looks like they've gotten, this has got to be a new forecast they must have just put out. Let me see what the timing on this is. Issued at 2004Z. So I guess maybe mine didn't update until just now, but they actually on the prior map were a little further south with the 2 inch line. The blue, the darker blue, which is 40%, was down into northern New Jersey. They've kind of backed off a little bit on that. Now they only have about a 10% chance of 2 inches down that way, 5% chance down to about New York City. Look, this will be what it will be. We'll just have to wait to play it out. I feel pretty comfortable with what I put out. I think you're pretty comfortable with what you put out, um, right? You are comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable.
Okay.
I'm amazed though. This is, you here we are. We had less than 5 inches of snow at Central Park. You wouldn't anticipate that we would still be talking about the possibility of seeing snow even in New York City as late as the 9th of May. But this looks like the kind of, because I remember in 77, 76, 77 was a cold winter, we had a lot of Alberta clippers. We certainly had, I think, more than 4 or 5 inches of snow in New York City. It wasn't a big year for snow, but and the cold kind of lingered all the way into the early part of the spring. This, again, a weird winter, not much in the way of cold weather, really, until the dike finally broke, or the polar vortex weakened and split into two at the start of April. And ever since now, we've been seeing shots of cold weather, windy weather, and now to finish out, hopefully, finish out this atrocity, the last sign of snow until, as you pointed out in your worded forecast, the last sign until hopefully next November at the earliest.
Right, because as I said, I could not get motivated. By the way, let me just put this really into context here because I saw a headline today. I'm gonna just come back full screen for a moment. So I saw a headline and a news article from NBC News about how 75 million people were going to be impacted by a record-setting snowstorm and record cold for in the Northeast. And let's pull again, no context in the headline. And I know that you folks on that watch this show and are on the chat board on a nightly basis understand what we're talking about when when we're doing weather here. But a lot of folks do not, and a lot of folks will jump at the headline, so their mind is immediately going to go to the standards of January and February cold and snow, as opposed to May. Bear that in mind. If New York City gets a trace of snow on Friday night on the calendar of May 8th, that would be a record snowfall for the day because it's never snowed before on May 8th. If it
Right.
gets a trace of snow on May 9th, on Saturday, for the calendar date, then it would tie the record because that was I think that's the one of only two May snowfalls that are on that occurred in the month of May. And also, if we were to set record lows, it would be basically by going down to about the freezing mark. All right, that's very cold for May. It's actually quite reasonable for January. So again, I'm just trying to give context here that we're talking about May here. We're not talking about February. We're not talking about January. So if we get just some wet snowflakes, that's an accomplishment this time of year. And just let's leave it at that.
And I'm just looking. I'm looking here at the map from May 9th, 1977, Joe, and there was a closed upper low situated. It looks like somewhere around Fairfield County,
Yeah,
Connecticut.
that was all a big cold upper low.
And there was actually a surface low that was, let's say, just a little ways east of Montauk Point. So, I mean, it's somewhat similar to what we're going to be seeing over the next 24 to 48 hours, although there's more of a separation this time around. We're actually going to see the surface low pivoted right up and through our area. That low is already going to be in the Gulf of Maine by Saturday morning. Meanwhile, the upper low will still be coming in from the west. So there's a bit more of a spread between the upper low and the surface low, as opposed to what I'm seeing here in 1977, where we didn't quite get vertical, but it was almost a vertically stacked type of
Right.
system in 77.
Yeah, I got the upper air map up here now, and actually the upper low this time around is pretty far north. It's north of Lake Ontario. It doesn't make for this to really have been something truly amazing would have been if that upper low had dropped southward, say down into Pennsylvania or New Jersey, and then moved off the New Jersey coast in a setup like this. This very
Right.
cold upper low, the way it's situated. It's not doing that. It's staying up just north of Lake Ontario and then moving across New York State and New England. And it's not a very tight upper low. It's kind of on the broad side. The jet, the whole jet actually drops down all the way into the southeast and then turns up the east coast in this almost bowl-like fashion. So it's not a very sharp, deep. It's a deep upper low, but the trough structure itself is not a sharp one, where you wind up with a coastal storm that's sitting out, say, at 40 and 70, and you've got all sorts of weird things going on with cold air aloft and precip coming down. That would have been very exciting to see, but uh, this is probably, I guess, the next best thing for snow lovers, given the time of year. And of course, with the upper low so far south and the flow coming straight out of northern Canada, it does set up for a very, very cold weekend.
Indeed, indeed. And you might want to check the on tropical tidbits, courtesy of our good friend Mr. Levy.
Hmm.
Uh, you might want to check the Frontal Genesis 700 and 850 maps for tomorrow evening, because we it just splashes us with energy
Sure,
tomorrow.
I'll jump on that in a second. I just wanted to really quick on the same map I just showed. I'm going to take it out with the. I just overlaid the surface and the temperatures. Just bring it up to Saturday morning. So the 40-degree line Saturday morning is well offshore. The 35-degree line is at New York City. And then you've got the temperatures, the light blue that you see showing up with the low sitting somewhere east of Cape Cod as a something less than a 992 low. And you notice how tight the pressure gradient is. You got a lot of isobars between that low and the 1028 high that's down in Missouri. So that wind is going to be really gusting during the day on Saturday. But the flow of air coming straight out of northern Canada over Hudson Bay, down running north to south, and that cold push, by the way, pushing all the way down into the Carolinas and into Georgia, where temperatures are going to be down in the 30s. You can also surmise from this there are going to be a lot of areas west of the Appalachians and back over toward the Ohio Valley and into the Great Lakes that are going to experience late season frosts and freezes out of it. So now I'll just go. Let's go to the 850 as you said, and we'll bring up. I've got the 850 here from Tropical Tidbits. I've got the NAM. This is tomorrow afternoon, and that zero line tomorrow afternoon is right on top of us. But as we go into tomorrow night, for some reason, this map is only out to 33 hours. Well, I can't get much. I can't get beyond 3Z Saturday, 11 o'clock Friday evening. But Joe, during that time, you got what you refer to as a ton of omega sitting over New Jersey. A lot of energy over New Jersey, Long Island, back through eastern Pennsylvania. I think you're right. Maybe there will be a rumble or two of thunder out of this as the low goes by.
It really is. The benchmark of an intensifying storm are thunderstorms, and this thing is really going to be winding up during tomorrow night as it fires past us. So yeah, it would not be surprising if you saw a flash of lightning, heard a rumble of thunder. Dare I say, Joe, might we get thunder snow out of this?
Wouldn't that be funny if we did?
Oh God! Now
Uh,
there you go. There, if you want to see a quick inch or two fall, that'd be the way to get it.
the slightly warmer and slightly slower GFS at 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday has the zero line across Long Island down to about Atlantic City, and then going all the way down into interior North Carolina. And your energy pretty much comes around, say, between 10 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the evening Friday to 2 a.m. Saturday morning. By 8 a.m. Saturday morning, it's 0, -3, between -6 and -9 degrees Celsius at 850. And as you mentioned yesterday, that's about as cold as you ever have seen. One of the forecasters in their discussion said this is a -9 was about as cold as you've ever seen it this time of
Boston,
year.
the Boston forecaster at the National Weather Service in Boston, actually in Norton, Massachusetts, said -9 is as cold as they ever have seen it. Um, I wish I knew where you can get hold of, being able to see these numbers.
Archives, yeah.
Archives, yeah, they really do must have a lot of archive information they can get this data from. But -9 is something you don't often see in any time in the month of May, early May this go around. And what can you say? This is going to be one for the books in one way, shape, or form.
So our low tonight, 2 a.m. Friday morning, is sitting in northeast Texas, moves over to northern Arkansas. We do have SPC, by the way, indicating some severe weather risk. The radar's already showing some heavy precip breaking out across Kansas, Missouri, and on up further north into parts of Iowa. It lightens up a little bit as you go further to the north. The Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk of severe weather indicated for tomorrow in East Texas. And I'm sorry, marginal risk in East Texas, a slight risk in Southeast Texas and across southern Louisiana and Mississippi. And for this evening, with what we're seeing developing out there, the SPC has two small areas of enhanced risk in Oklahoma and a larger area of slight risk and marginal risk covering the southern plains. That's where your warm sector is setting up. There's also some shower activity tonight. I was a little surprised to see this, by the way. In upstate New York and in Pennsylvania, I didn't anticipate to see this many showers showing up rolling across upstate New York. There's some showers now approaching western New Jersey. Was quite surprised to see this.
I thought that we'd have nothing more than a light shower or even a sprinkle or even just a spritz. Now, whether or not as they approach our area, a patch of drier air will tend to weaken these. But yeah, in terms of the intensity, that is surprising.
Yeah, very odd. All right, so let's take it. We'll use the GFS so we can carry things through. And of course, you can see where SPC's got their severe weather risk tomorrow is down closer to the coast. So you've got this tail that forms with some thunderstorms on the low, which is near Nashville tomorrow afternoon. The GFS seems to be lately rather aggressive with the precip that it generates on its radar views. The NEM is not quite as aggressive, but has a similar idea. And because it's a little bit slower and a little bit warmer, with the surface low tracking just inland of the coast, you've got more rain on the GFS than you do snow. And then you start to see it on the tail end of it, with the low sitting over Montauk by 2 a.m. Saturday. Rain along the coast down to Chesapeake Bay and into eastern North Carolina. Snow north and west of the low, northern New Jersey, on up the Hudson Valley and into New England, and then it starts to deepen quite a bit as it heads into the Gulf of Maine Saturday morning. The instability that pops up between daybreak Saturday and mid afternoon, all because of that deep upper trough that's moving across the Northeast. And then we'll see that pull away. The gradient is still rather tight here Saturday night. It lessens to a degree on Sunday, but we've got another low, looks like another little diver here moving across the Great Lakes, and also some southern energy this time around in the Gulf of North, in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, moving across southern Florida. That's not going to get involved with this, but then it looks like we might have maybe some showers to deal with on Monday as this next little low goes by. And then after that, I think that, we talked yesterday about the pattern relaxing to an extent, and at least this endless feed of colder air from Canada getting cut off to a certain degree. So that might allow for temperatures to start moderating a bit. Although we do have some kind of frontal boundary here Wednesday night into Thursday. I really didn't spend a whole lot of time on the long range trying to figure out how that's all going to play out. But still looks like there's going to be some activity to deal with precip wise later next week and maybe going into next weekend and beyond. We'll have to come back. We'll have to come back to this over the weekend once everything settles down, and then we can spend a little bit more time looking at things on the long range. Safe to say that at least there's no major storms that we're dealing with, and that's a plus. And it's a little too early to have to say we have no tropical depressions or tropical storms, but within a couple of weeks, that's going to start having to jump into our conversation. I'm sure of it.
Well, I think after this mayhem goes on by tomorrow night, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of us woke up on Saturday morning to bright sunshine. Um,
That
However,
self-destructing type of sunshine.
the self-destructing, yes, that type of sun, because the clouds are going to be developing underneath that upper low as it passes across the Northeast during Saturday, along with that gusty wind, and we could very well see a repeat of showers of rain and or wet snow during the afternoon hours on Saturday. So while it may not necessarily be all that terrible when a lot of you wake up on Saturday morning, as the winds start to rev up and as the clouds start to build, Saturday afternoon could be a whole different story. You step outside, I think we're going to see wind chills on Saturday afternoon, Joe, in the upper 30s and low to mid 40s, which kind of makes it feel a lot like either a day in early or mid February or maybe December. Nothing like what you would expect in the month of May, but that's the way this all looks like it's going to go for this upcoming. And for Mother's Day, yeah, it won't be quite as harsh. We won't have as much wind. We'll have a bit more sunshine. We probably will not have any precipitation, but still, temperatures on Mother's Day, I think, will be averaging a good 10 or 12 degrees below the norm. So uh,
But by
it not a great weekend, but certainly looks like right now Mom's Day is going to be a lot better than Saturday.
by the way, uh, the David Ludlum books that you put up, we had a couple of folks asking where they could purchase them. I found a whole bunch of them on Amazon, and I put a link up yesterday with regards to that.
I'm amazed. I have a copy of the early American hurricane book, and I saw one particular person on Amazon asking for something. He said it's in very good condition. I personally think mine is in very good condition. He's asking for something like $500 for that book. Uh, no, I don't think
Really,
I don't think so.
they
But you know, I guess you take what you can get, right?
well, it seemed like they had a whole bunch of his books on there. I didn't happen to look at the prices, so I don't know if they were being sold by third parties or if they were actually being
The
sold by Amazon.
the two volume the early American Winters volume 1 and volume 2. I didn't see anything higher than $70 on Amazon for either one of those two books. But the Hurricane book, that was the one that really went sky high. He
Right,
also had a book called Early American Tornadoes. These are all hardcover books. They were published by the AMS, the American Meteorological Society, back in 1966. So these are old out of print books. That's why you have to go on a site like Amazon to try to find them,
right.
and hopefully you get a good copy. But and they're excellent books. Anything that David Ludlum did, the great weather historian that he was, it's well worth the money that you slap on down to get them.
All right. So, I did watch. By the way, I did watch the Perry Mason episode, "The Case of Constant Doyle," with Betty Davis. It was
Yes.
kind of interesting to see her playing that part. I would say it's not what I would consider one of her better acting performances, but when you're looking for work, you take what you can get.
I
Um,
guess you can. I particularly like the slight little segue to Perry sitting laying in bed telling Betty Davis that he got 10 phone calls from Hamilton Berger asking
yes,
when he was going to return because he just couldn't deal with Betty Davis. But neither could a lot of the acting world.
right. Well, she was difficult, but I think she was difficult for good reason. She, reading about a lot about how Hollywood was in those days, especially if you were a woman, you had to really fight to get the parts you wanted, and the studio system basically had you working night and day, putting out a dozen movies a year, where you're working, 6 weeks, 20-hour days, and then you get done with one movie, you barely have a day off, and then you have to go start another. And she wanted scripts that were of quality, and Jack Warner wouldn't give it to her. Is a long. I can understand why she insisted on certain things.
I'm going to I'm going to cut out quickly now because
Mets
game
time.
game 4 of the Met game. This is the game that I actually went to see with my great uncles, my uncle Eddie and my uncle Larry, and it was Vietnam Moratorium Day that day, and the armed services did not provide any band for the national anthem or any orchestra. So Gordon McCrae, Sheila McCrae's husband, had to go out and sing the national anthem a cappella on that day before the game started. And also, for any of you out there who are going to watch this game on SNY, in the top half of the third inning, with the count 1 ball and 1 strike on Mark Belanger, the home plate umpire, Shag Crawford, turns around and looks toward the dugout, the Oriole dugout, and screams, and we heard it. I was on the in the Loge section of this for this particular game along the third base foul line. You could hear Shag Crawford from all the way up there scream at the Oriole dugout, saying, "You shut your GD mouth." Because apparently they were riding him on some of the calls he was making on some of the pitches that Tom Seaver were making. Eventually, Earl Weaver, the manager of the Orioles, got thrown out of the game. But if you watch this game, I'm sure that you'll be able to hear Shag Crawford yell at the top of his lungs that little commentary at the Orioles. You shut your GD
Nothing,
mouth. I'm
nothing
not
like
going
going to a game. In those days, they didn't have cameras and microphones, all over the place where you could hear just about everything that goes on in, in
right.
in the
But you see,
dugouts and on the
it was funny for
field.
me because everybody in the stands that day were businessmen in three-piece suits. I
Yes,
didn't quite understand that. Of course, the price of the tickets were, this was the World Series after all, and these people who were in the stands only cheered when something was happening out on the field. So it was a quiet moment. Seaver's pitching, and then during that quiet moment, I'll bet you could have heard Shag Crawford throughout the entire ballpark. And like I said, if you're going to watch this game, top half of the third inning, I'm sure the microphone, NBC microphone, probably picked up on his screaming as well. So
yes.
I'm
John
thinking,
Trabacchino, Mets versus Orioles, the '69 World Series,
great.
and it's on the Yes Network, right?
No, it's on SNY. The Yes
SNY.
Network, SNY is the Mets, and the
Mets,
Yes Network
the
is
Yankees. Okay.
Sports.
Don't forget, everybody. A couple of things. Joe and I will be on tomorrow night as we watch this whole play unfold. And right, we're on tomorrow night.
We'll be
We'll be
here.
here. Probably off Saturday. Go ahead, you go away. Off Saturday, and then of course Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the Joe and Joe Weather Show, the Sunday morning show, Coffee with Chaffee. Also, want to remind you, Janet Dunn, thanks for being here tonight. Reminded me next Tuesday, I'm going to be doing a virtual library talk at the Westwood Library in Westwood, New Jersey. But I'm going to be doing it from here, and hopefully I'll be able to do all the technical things that I need to do in order to stream it on YouTube at the same time. So I'll give you more details on that over the weekend and on Monday. So everybody have a great night and a great day on your Friday. Social distancing, of course, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.